Welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. Today's pick a card reading, we're going to look at what is your spirit animal, your power animal team. And the inspiration from this comes from the fact that I've been doing some shamanic journeying work with the wonderful Rena from Gold Key Guidance, another tarot channel on YouTube that I highly recommend and that I've collaborated with in the past. She's also an incredibly gifted shaman, and I've had the pleasure and honour of working with her on that, and I recommend her if you're looking for shamanic journeying, just as an aside. But one of the things that has been really interesting in that is becoming aware of one's power animals, your sort of shamanic team on that level. So I just thought what an interesting idea to use for a pick a card reading. So we're going to start with looking at 3 animals in your spirit animal team, one of which will be connected to whatever pole you choose. Then we're going to have a look at each of those and what their key messages are for you and how that all comes together with what you do know about your life and your situation at the moment, and maybe what you're not seeing that they can help you see. We'll have a look at what else is in your spiritual kit bag in terms of sort of guides and energies that are non-animal, and then also look at some astrology and bring in a final message at the end to bring it all together for you in moving between the various liminal realms. So without any further ado, let's have a look at choosing your pile. So I'll put down the numbers as usual for those that like to choose by number. And of course you can go to more than one reading. You could easily have 6 or more power animals, so that's perfectly fine. Go to whichever ones you want. But to help possibly with the choice, I shuffled and asked Spirit to give me one of the 3, not necessarily the top one, but one of the 3 for each pile. So for pile 1 we have Jaguar, which talks about release. For pile 2 we have Elephant, which talks about leadership. And for pile 3 we have Sea Otter, which talks about transformation. So if one of those animals calls to you or the concept calls to you, that might be a sign that that's the reading for you to go to. As I say, feel free to go to more than one if you wish. But when you know whichever reading or readings you want to go to, as always, the timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So you've come to the reading that includes Jaguar as one of your 3 spirit power animals. Jaguar in this deck is about release, about letting go. You also have Hyena, which is about facing fears and also letting go, sort of like, in a sense, sort of clearing out what isn't working to bring in the new. And you have Armadillo, which is about groundedness, earth magic, and so forth. So looking at them each individually, and then we'll talk about what I think this team is bringing you. The Jaguar, as I said, it is about releasing energy. A Jaguar as a spirit totem is very powerful. It's a powerful energy. A Jaguar in life, much like its sort of darker version, black version, as a panther, is incredibly powerful. It's an apex predator. It's extremely quiet in the hunt, extremely strategic. It moves as it needs to move to be able to have its dominion, and the energy around it is about discharging what isn't working. So Jaguar is here around something for you, I think, that isn't working in your life, something that is time for it to go, or potentially pursuing that which is new, but with that stealthy, powerful, knowing and ultimately confident sort of energy for you. And that mixes very interestingly with Hyena as one of your other spirit power animals, because the hyena is often sort of seen to be, looks a bit odd, and they think of the hyena as a kind of a sort of energy around scavenging, but it's actually a predator as well. So there is something predatory in this energy. There is something that you are meant to go after. Let go of what isn't working, but it is also to go after what will work. If you have a look at the energy of how the hyena is represented here, there is almost a skeleton of the hyena in what is old and needs to be let go of. That is effectively scavenged and gone. But then there is the energy coming in that is new. And the hyena here is to help you understand that change is necessary, nothing to be frightened of. Hyena is highly intelligent. I think the Jaguar energy about its stealth and then intelligence. There's something about intelligence with what you are meant to do. It is interesting that there is a dual energy to this card, because on one hand in terms of how the hyena is seen, it's seen to balance the divine masculine and divine feminine. But hyenas as a animal group are actually matriarchal. So I feel as though some of you, there is an energy here about a shifting of the balance of patriarchy and matriarchy connected to what you're doing, whether it's very literal and it's something that you're dealing with in a workplace or a relationship, or whether it's getting that sort of thing into balance and understanding the power and energy in both. But there's certainly a sense here that you have two power animals that are about being predatory, and I don't mean that in a bad way. That's not negative. This is natural. This is going after what you want, going after what is the next step, going after what would actually bring things more into balance. And armadillo is here to ground you, to make sure that what you do has gravitas, that it is well balanced, and that it is appropriate, that it is not sort of like going after what you want just to prove a point in an egoistic sort of way, for instance, or not to take the fear too far, or the sort of conquest too far either. It's to bring a groundedness, to bring sort of earth grounded magic to this. And it's also to give you the armory that you need for whatever this thing is, to let go of something and to bring in the change that you're doing. It's a well-armored species. It's a well-armored being. In this particular card, it's represented with a Mayan god, and it talks about coming from the underworld and being able to go through the dark night of the soul. So I think it's very interesting to have that energy of the underworld energy, which is what comes up from what has been to be what will become. You have the hyena energy, which is moving through the fear that you might have with the dark night of the soul, but again, to what will become. And then jaguar to give the stealth and the timing and the quiet, still power to bring it in. So I think that you have a spirit animal team around you to bring in some form of change that is letting go of the past that no longer works. And you are able, because of the strength of your team and the groundedness of armadillo here, to traverse things that other people can't, to look things in the face when other people would turn away out of fear. So I think that you are a change maker, and your spirit team is here to help you with that. So we're going to see from tarot a little bit more information for you. So we're going to start firstly with 3 cards for each spirit animal, for them to speak to you with their particular part of this puzzle. Then we're going to bring it together with what you know of this situation, and also what possibly you don't see that they want you to see. So firstly, for Jaguar, as that is the one that brought you here, and might be the key thing about not only what you're meant to release, but what you're meant to be pursuing strategically, carefully, groundedly, and with the view to going towards the light. What would Jaguar want to talk to you about in terms of releasing things to be able to focus? 2 of Wands reversed, the 2 of Pentacles reversed, the 10 of Wands reversed. Okay, so the issue here is choice. It's interesting. It's got 2 2s reversed. I just want to actually put that so that you can see the Jaguar. 2 2s reversed. So part of what Jaguar is here is to help you make a decision, and this decision has a material impact, which is why you have the groundedness, and it has a creative or ambition impact, which is probably why we have the hyena moving into the balance of sort of the divine feminine and masculine, the creation and the distraction. So there is a decision that Jaguar wants you to look at, because you are putting too much energy into something and it is burdening you. It is like you are wanting to carry 2 things forward, 2 jobs, 2 creative projects, 2 relationships. It's something where you're trying to juggle 2 things, and you cannot do that. The predator cannot be trying to chase down 2 things at the same time. It is too much of a burden. It will not happen. So Jaguar is asking you to release that which is of least importance to you, so that you can focus, so that you can get that very clear, I'm looking ahead directly at what I need. And that unburdens you so that you can actually use the skill of Jaguar to go towards what your quarry is. And as I say, I'm not seeing anything negative about the predator aspect of this, because this is not about you being a predator in any negative way. This is just about having that focus and going after your goal. So let's ask what hyena wants you to think about, which is probably primarily around releasing fear. There could be a fear associated with giving up one of these. Yeah, like what is this transition from that which must be let go to that which comes in? How can hyena help you with that? Give you this very intelligent problem-solving energy that the hyena as an animal has, and the balance, I think, of the feminine and masculine that's required for this as well. So you have Page of Pentacles reversed, Ace of Cups reversed, Page of Wands. It's very interesting so far. Now, don't be concerned about the fact that we have, I'll just bring the hyena up there, that we have a lot of reverse cards. I think this is partly because of Armadillo over here. I think that this is showing that there is within, say you were doing a shamanic journey, it would be very much to the lower world, which is where you're likely to find your power animals anyway. But it's also, I think, almost an underworld type of situation. It's like really getting to the depths of things, the beginnings and endings of things, the transition and so forth. So hyena is saying that you have well developed something that in terms of sort of like your ambition and probably in terms of your material outcome, it's almost as though hyena is saying you could let that go and let it happen. What you haven't developed is something close to your heart. So the interesting thing is hyena is kind of arguing a bit with jaguar. Hyena is saying, or it might be giving you a way, an intelligent way of deciding it actually. It's either arguing with jaguar, because jaguar is saying choose between something material and something that is sort of ambitious or creative potentially. And hyena is saying you don't really have to choose between those because they're well developed, but you may have to focus on which has your heart more because it will need more focus. It's the thing that needs to transition. So it's sort of potentially having a bet both ways, or it's saying if you have to choose between this, choose between a material outcome and a creative outcome, for instance, then why are you suppressing your heart? You need to think about what is the emotional impact for that. So it's going to be one or other. It's either that there is a possible way to do this, if you kind of go back to like your first principles of what you wanted with this, because it's well advanced. So it's not really a choice. It's about focusing and bringing in the emotional side of things. Or it could be, if you do have to choose, if in fact hyena is agreeing with jaguar here, then it's like which one is the heart? And this is the kind of divine feminine. The divine feminine, like hyena would tilt towards the divine feminine, being a matriarchal species. So if that's still kind of a little bit up in the air, like it's emotionally making a decision and it's like, where is the effort going so you can focus? Armadillo may be the one that gives you the answer, not only because it's sort of connected to the beginnings and endings right down to the underworld, but also because it's grounded. Like what one could you really bring something into being? I do think this is about a choice of where you put energy and effort, whether it's about two different relationships, one of which is very, very sort of like practical and grounded and earthy, and one of which is very exciting and passionate, or whether it's different careers, different whatever it might be. So let's see what Armadillo has to say about grounding this decision and your energy. Nine of Cups reversed, Nine of Swords upright, the Star reversed. Okay. So Armadillo is saying the problem that you've got is you're putting too much thought into it. I think Armadillo is agreeing with hyena here that the heart is the thing here, because at the moment all the joy that could have come out of what you want to do is being leached out by worry, and it's taking away your sort of sense of hope around it. You aren't getting your North Star. So Armadillo is saying, you know what, all other things being equal, what would have brought you joy? Because at the moment you're not focusing on that. You're worrying about every detail. You're trying to balance all these things off. And that means that you're not actually getting where you need to go. The way that you ground actually is to remember what your original wish was, which is kind of agreeing with hyena here. So I think actually that they're all in agreement with each other, but they're seeing different problems associated with it. Jaguar thinks that you're just carrying too much of a burden. Like it's a lot easier to move through the forest if you're just focusing on one. So just make a choice. That's all you need to do, is what Jaguar is saying. Hyena is saying, yeah, I agree, but both of these things have merit. So what you need to decide is which is closest to your heart. And Armadillo is saying it's even simpler than that. What one would bring you joy, because at the moment trying to do both is taking you in the wrong direction. So I think for a lot of you this is around creative stuff, work stuff. It could be between two friends. It could be between two lovers as well too. But Armadillo wants you to really simplify it and say, where is your bliss? Because that's the last thing you're focusing on at the moment. You're worrying too much about the consequences. And it could be, for some of you, that you feel very beholden to others, that you feel like you have a responsibility to do both. But what Armadillo is saying is that if you do that and you worry too much, you don't achieve either of them. So there's a pretty clear message coming across here for you, pile one. So let's ask them as a team to tell you what they think you know about this. Eight of Cups, the Emperor reversed, Four of Swords, the High Priestess reversed. So this is one of the reasons the hyena is with you. What they think you know is that you put a lot of store in what would be the divine masculine, ambition, the powers of the world, whatever this applies to, whether it's work or love or whatever, and it's out of balance. And you know this. It's not returning the emotional thing that you want, and that's where the real thing is occurring. Worrying about power issues, worrying about ambition, all of those sort of things are making you worry literally, and they're taking you away from what you could have had emotionally. And you know this. You know you're in a situation where the divine feminine is more important, where the heart is more important. But you've been kind of sitting and contemplating and trying to be pragmatic. You're almost trying to shut down. You're almost not listening to them. Even though you kind of know they're right, you're shutting it down. You're trying to make a pragmatic decision. So you're sitting too much still in the divine masculine on that level and in the intellect. This is what armadillos, they've got your number really. You've got one, they really understand it. They go, you're worrying too much. It's all about what the solution is. See, it's interesting because hyena is a problem solver. So part of that energy is there too. You want to just find the answer that will solve the problem so you can kind of do both. But I think they're all telling you, no, that's not right. And you've really got to listen to your instinct and to your heart and to what was your bliss to start with. Otherwise, you're just going to run yourself ragged. So let's see what they think you don't know. So they think you know this. They think that you will understand this message. So what do they think you don't know that they would like you to consider? The Hierophant reversed. Nine of Pentacles reversed. Queen of Cups reversed. Three of Cups. They're saying you don't realize how much other people can help you with this. I think they think that you're trying to do it all yourself and carry too much yourself. With the Nine of Pentacles reversed and the Three of Cups, you can have a lot of joy and get a lot further, and maybe even to some degree do both, but one of them you kind of delegate a bit more and the other you can actually focus on. There is a solution, but it requires other people. And so you need to, again, be able to emotionally bring people on board. You have really shut your heart down. Really shut your heart down and really shut down the divine feminine around this. And you perhaps don't know how much. You kind of recognize that you're in this sort of competitive, demanding environment and you're trying to be really practical and solutions focused. What you don't recognize is that other people can help you. Your heart is just as important, and there's an unconventional approach to what you can do. There's a different way of doing whatever this is, and whether that is to make the choice, and it may be that in fact the choice is the one that is least conventional, would be the one that brings you the most joy and will also bring you collaborators, or whether it's just that you have to buck the trends that you're around to buck a sort of like almost, as I say, sort of very patriarchal type of energy to bring in more of a matriarchal energy that the hyena would talk about, so that you can have a more collaborative approach. And that is potentially one way to do it. But while you're trying to shoulder this burden all on your own, pile one, it's not going to work out. That's what they're trying to say to you. So let's see who else you've got in your spirit team that can maybe help with other sort of information. So we'll start with an archangel. Archangel Jophiel. So she's pretty much on board with them, I would say. She's all about joy. So this is the thing. There is something that they're telling you, that you've forgotten your joy, you've forgotten your heart, you've taken on too many responsibilities, you're trying to juggle too many things in whatever way it is, even in relationships potentially. She wants to bring you back to joy, and she's all about decluttering. So there could be even a literal thing with the sort of sense of clearing out the energy here that hyenas do in that sort of scavenging type of energy of like clearing out your environment. Like for some of you, that might actually help release the energy. That's probably something I should listen to myself. I tend to let chaos build up around me in my house for quite some time before I ever get around to clearing it out. And it's probably very true, literally, that could bring more joy in and so forth. So for some of you, it might be something simple like that, decluttering your environment as a way to energetically bring in the joy and start to realize there's other ways of doing it. Like I'm literally getting to that for some of you, you might like declutter to some degree, and then you get some people to come and take it all the way to the tip for you. It's sort of like other people can help. It's almost like doing it on that kind of level shows you the process for what these decisions are. Let's also get you a couple of power energies from potentially the more underworld sort of thing, sort of like deep mythologies and so forth as well, to help you, to also guide you along with your animal spirit team. Puck. Now that's interesting because that's also a bit about fear. So I'll get to this in a minute. There may be something around this where you're afraid to let go of one thing. Now it seems to be coming up as a message. And Sheila Nanig, which is about boundaries. Okay, so, all right. Time for a little bit of tough love here, pile one, and this is probably something I need to give myself as tough love too, so don't take it as a criticism. But there is something. Apuk in this particular deck talks about the Mayan god of the dead, which is Apuk, so the underworld. There is something that has had its time in your life, I would say. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to completely not do it, but I feel like if you keep it in your life in some way, it has to be relegated, delegated to others. Other people take it forward. There's something like that around it. Or you need to let it go. If this is a relationship you're juggling to and you can't have both, there may be one that has done its time. But you're afraid. You're afraid of hurting the person. You're afraid of the consequences. You're afraid of would the other one work out. But the reality is, in that case, if you did that, neither is going to work out if you keep trying to juggle it. So whatever it is, you do have to face that fear. Now, Hyena says to do it by thinking towards the light, by looking what's coming next, and by using problem-solving skills. Puck, the way to deal with that energy there is to speak your truth, is to make a noise. It's like the last thing you should do is just keep dwelling on this and worrying about it on your own. You can talk to your spirit animal team. You can talk to any of your spiritual team. You could also just talk to friends or people who might be able to help. So there is a thing here where you're afraid of the implications of making this choice, but you don't need to be, because you're meant to be going through the next realm to create something. Sheila Nanig is about boundaries, about what one step to the other, the underworld into life and so forth and so forth. She basically is like a womb that gives birth. So there is something one of these you're meant to really take forward and succeed with. So I think she is saying you are going to succeed as long as you go through this particular step and you birth the thing that you choose. The only thing that could stop you is the fear. So if you think, if I let go of one and the other won't work out, that's going to make them both fail. But if you do make the choice, she is saying you will be able to give birth to what it is that you want to. So let's also get you a member of the Greek pantheon as well as another part of your spirit team and the message that they bring you on this. Pile one. Dionysus, merrymaking. You're meant to have a bit of fun. I do think you're too serious by half. And again, that's not me criticizing you, because many could justifiably say that about me. So you're meant to have a bit of fun. Like it's not all meant to be serious. I feel like many of you have taken on responsibilities before you needed to. Maybe some of you, right from your childhood, you had to be almost like a parent within the family for some reason. This is your spirit team wants you to lighten up a bit and have a bit of fun and go back to why you were wanting to do things in the first place, because it's all got too serious. Maybe some of you have got elevated very quickly in a career, and that's wonderful, and congratulations to you if you have, but don't forget you can delegate if that's the case. You're meant to be enjoying this, and it's meant to be a marathon, not a sprint. And you're meant to enjoy the marathon, not feel exhausted all the time. So there is something here where there is a definite call for you to have some fun, to let go of that which is holding you back. and to, to be grounded with it, not to be irresponsible. Armadillo over here would be saying that's fine, but don't get so merrymaking that you're kind of sick all the time or constantly hungover. But it is about balance. But there is something. Your spirit team wants you to enjoy life a bit more, and they're all saying that. They're all saying you're worrying too much and you're vexing over choices that should be actually relatively clear if you think through the one that matters most to your heart. So, pretty clear message, I think, here for you. So let's just see what astrology can provide in terms of like the guidance of the stars for you. Fixed. Yeah, you're a bit too fixed. Could be a fixed sign like Scorpio or Leo or Taurus or Aquarius, but otherwise you could be a little bit too fixed in this. You do need to kind of lighten up a bit. Fourth house. Some of you, this could be around, responsibilities to families, to things that you feel like, parental responsibilities, all of those kind of things. And if that's the case, there are others who can share the load. It's sort of this, it all depends on what it is. But this is also about getting back to who you truly are as well with the fourth house. And Gemini, having a bit of fun, being a bit lighthearted about it. Using a bit of a sense of humor, like a sense of humor would be good around this. Like if you want to puncture fear, sense of humor every time. It's almost impossible for fear and for that kind of dark energy to stand up to that. That's why satire is so incredibly powerful as a way of dealing with, kind of illegitimate power and all that kind of thing. So get into that sense of humor, get into that light energy. You're obviously very smart. You got Gemini here. I mean, like you problem solver, all of those sort of things. But because of that, I just think you've come into some sort of situation where you have so many options that you need to kind of simplify and get back to your heart and have a bit of fun. Okay, so a final message for you, pile one, is we're going to draw from the Shapeshifter deck to sort of see the shape-shifting energy. If you're moving between all these liminal realms, all the different shamanic worlds, whatever it may be, what shape-shifting energy would help you according to your spirit power animal team in particular, but your spirit team more generally. Oh, wow. Quetzalcoatl and the Priestess of Time. The time has come. The time to act is now. You do need to make this decision. You can't carry this forever, but Quetzalcoatl is incredibly powerful and is effectively another mythological power animal for you. Quetzalcoatl is a colourful serpent from the Mayan and Aztec religions. Incredible creative energy, incredibly powerful. But it is saying, so it's saying power, the power energy that you have is very strong, and there's a lot of transformation that's available to you and a lot of sort of like energy to move between the worlds, but it may have made you take on too much, and the Priestess of Time here with Quetzalcoatl is saying you can't delay this decision. All you're going to do is get more and more and more into the world of the Nine of Swords, if that's the case, more and more into the fear energy. Just break out of that. You just need to make the choice. So I hope that resonates for you, pile one. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile two, to your reading. So you've come to the reading where elephant was one of these sacred power animals that are in your spirit team. You also have dog and polar bear. One of the first things I'd say that's interesting about this particular spirit animal team is that I think that there is huge sort of ancestral, psychic and spiritual ability that you are carrying. And I think the interesting thing is that the elephant and the dog as animals are both very family oriented, and very loyal. The polar bear, which talks about ancestors, so connects to this lineage, tends to be more solitary. So I feel as though there is something here where, and the elephant talks about leadership, the dog about companionship, and the polar bear about ancestors, where this particular spirit animal team is with you because you do carry a lineage. You may be looking at that lineage in some way, spiritually, psychologically, trauma-based, any of those sort of things. That's a possibility. Or there is something about a deep commitment to those things but finding your own way. but while still having the connections that you want to have. Because it is an interesting thing. As I say, the elephant is a animal that is family oriented, is matriarchal, so the divine feminine is powerful here, is often seen as good fortune. It's being shown here as Ganesha, the Hindu god. So there is a sense of that, and joy and so forth, and leadership, coming into your own leadership. But there seems to be a family, community, finding your tribe sort of energy here. So I think elephant is here possibly to find that which is in your ancestral lines that is true to you culturally, spiritually, and also what might be different that you lead out on. And that may then lead to dog, to find the companions that are maybe not. They're also family oriented, but they are also human oriented. And so there is a sort of sense with the dog here that there are other companions outside of maybe your direct ancestral line, but which are also part of your spiritual family. And they are part of the companionship for you, because you are sometimes alone. You sometimes feel alone. You're connected very spiritually and strongly to your ancestral line and cultural, but there's something about you that feels alone as well. It feels a bit to me like First Nations in Australia, with the First Nations people who go on walkabout, that sort of sense of both being deeply connected to community, but also having that singular spiritual journey. And I am not enough of an expert about that to say whether how deep that is as singular, but that sort of sense of walkabout always felt to me to be the sort of like the solitary exploration and then the connection to community. So apologies if there are people from that and that I haven't understood that. I'd be happy to be corrected in the comments if that's the case. I'm just trying to think of an example of that. But I just sort of feel that there's something about that. You're meant to lead out in some way. This is why the elephant is with you. The elephant moves very quietly and steadily. Also has incredible skills at how they communicate. They communicate at different levels of kind of frequency. So there is something about the power of your voice, the power of what you say and to whom you say it. And dogs are also very good at sort of skills and so forth and support. So I feel you bring a number of senses to this, like potentially clair senses, like clairaudience, clairvoyance, that kind of thing. But there's also something compelling in the way you speak. So I think your spirit animals are here for you to find your leadership, your lineage, your tribe. So let's ask each in turn. I'm going to use 3 tarot cards for each, for what each are specifically wanting to say to you right now. Pile 2. So what does the elephant want to say to you? Ace of Pentacles reversed. The Tower. Wow. King of Wands. Oh, yeah. The elephant really wants you to start to think about how you lead. And leadership is so many different things. You could be a thought leader. You could be a leader through creativity, as I say, through your voice. You could be an amazing singer. You could touch people, and kind of take them through change and like what is difficult just by that. The power, as I say, of a song to help people when they're feeling sort of like hit upon by the world with the Tower. But there's a major change. Your power is coming through. Your leadership is coming through. It is time to step up into that. You haven't done that yet, pile 2. All the potential is there. Some of you, there could be a very significant new job or new business or new creative idea, but particularly material, that is just about to come out. It may even come through a major change that seems like it's negative, but it actually takes you into something that is better. Or you could be someone who is going to step into a leadership role, say in an organization that's going through change, and the change is what elevates you. This hasn't yet come through, but it's about to come through. And so elephant wants you to be ready, wants you to know that what's likely to precede it is something quite dramatic, but that's meant to be a breakthrough. I mean, look at the fact that there's all this lightning coming down to bring this sort of power and leadership to the elephant there. This is like this for you. There is a lightning strike. There is a aha moment. There is a major change. Elephant wants you to be ready because you're meant to step up. You're ready to step up, elephant is saying. So let's see over here around what dog wants to say to you. 5 of Wands reversed, the Emperor reversed, Queen of Swords. So, dog wants you to know that if there has been, or if there is some debate or some conflict coming out of this, you will move above that quite quickly. And sorry, it's the Empress reversed, not the Emperor reversed. You just need to to be careful about the role that you take on as you do this. So dog, the interesting thing about dog is they're incredibly loyal and incredibly sort of nurturing. But your role in this, because you're meant to be a leader, I think, is not to be a new mother to the people. You need to be a leader, a thought leader in whatever this is. So I think dog is here to support you and take you through what might even be a little bit of an internal shift for you from wanting to nurture others. Because remember, this is a very matriarchal energy. So your divine feminine is really strong, but and you can use it, but you need to use it as a leader, connecting with the King of Wands, getting the leadership role and the clarity of your voice, the clarity of what you're saying. And there is a risk for you if you want to try and solve everything, that you might become more of a kind of a shepherd people through it to the degree that they don't come into their own power. I'm minded of, the concept that, if you're a parent and you're teaching a child to ride a bike, I think I've used this analogy before. If you constantly walk along with them and hold the handlebars so that they don't fall, then they won't fall, but they won't learn to ride the bike. So it's like being more of a friend and a thought leader to help people, because there's a lot of change around this, I think, for you. I think the dog wants you to understand how to be that, how to be the leader thinking wise, but not just come in and fix everything for everybody. Then what does the polar bear want to say to you? Because again, before I go to that, if you are finding your own people, and some of this may be even people in your family, because there is a very strong ancestral thing here. It's like not to become the dominating mother and the dominating nurturer. Like it really is, there needs to be a little bit of tough love around this situation, but loyal, tough love. And if you are looking for people outside your family, then you don't want to bring in that kind of family role. It's a different form of leadership. Sorry, I just felt I needed to say that. Now, in terms of the polar bear, what does the polar bear want to say to you? And this is more about how to deal with that which is different or where you're alone, I think. The Lovers reversed. Two of Swords. Eight of Pentacles reversed. Okay. I think that polar bear is here to talk to you about something a bit different to the rest of this. I think this is about some change that is coming up where you step into leadership and find some of your tribe. I think polar bear is here about personal relationships, like the closer ones. I think polar bear is saying that you can't make a decision really about a really close, intimate, loving relationship or whatever until you unlearn something that was in your cultural background. So there is a shift here. There is honouring and connecting to and loving and being with those in your sort of family and ancestral line where you can take a leadership role and take things forward. But there is something different about you as well. And you are likely to bring in love from a different space or a different perspective. And it's important to know that you need to not be rigid at that point. You may have to unlearn certain things and be open to different perspectives. Okay, so let's ask what they as a team think you know about these pieces of advice at the moment. Eight of Swords, King of Pentacles, the Magician reversed, Three of Pentacles reversed. Okay, I think that a large chunk of this, I think the polar bear is talking about something different, and I think it may come up in what you don't see at the moment, because I think that might be something that's going to come in. But I think a large chunk of this is around something like career or leadership in that way. And they say you know that. You know it's time for you to step up because there's something that's not right in the environment that you're in. So if it's in your family, there's some attitudes and rules that aren't really true, aren't really, there could be some hypocrisy operating or some actual deceit operating. Something is going to be seen, brought to the surface, etc. It is meant to liberate it, but it's going to be a little bit unstable at first. This is why you need to be the leader, a caring leader, but not one that papers over it all for everybody. You need to be the thought leader and so forth, because there's something about the old order that is changing. And if it's in a workplace, the old order is changing and it can't stay what it was. Not with the Tower, the Magician reverse, the King of Pentacles there. But there is a period of instability coming up that's meant to liberate. You know that. Now, if it is connected over here to love, then it could be that you know that there's a connection you have at the moment that's not right for you. And you can't bring in the right thing until you start to think differently about love. So it just depends. But I think for many of you, there may not be one at the moment, or it may not be the focus. You may be in a good relationship. It may be that this becomes a focus later, where the changes that you make here are so profound that you then have to unlearn and find a new way of being with the person you're with, if you are with someone. So let's ask what you don't see, what they think you aren't seeing at the moment that would be useful for you to see. Okay, that one flew out, so I'm going to put it down. Wheel of Fortune. The Sun, wow. Justice reversed. Two of Pentacles. So they're actually saying the decision around this is simpler than you think. Good fortune is coming in. This change that might appear to be something other, that it seems to come out of something that isn't good, will actually turn out to be good in the end. And it's actually going to take you into your life path. But it will require a decision from you. So whether it's to leave a workplace, step up into a leadership role, change your kind of friendship circle, whatever it might be, there is a material choice that you'll need to make. This Ace of Pentacles, to really start to build that potential that you have, you're going to have to take that first step. And some may even think you're not doing the fair thing. Some may want you to just look after them, and you actually need to sort of be a little bit, as I say, tough love or whatever. So there's definitely that, but it's meant to bring in your life path. It's meant to be sort of positive for you. And so I think it's primarily talking about this energy, but I think there's a flow-on energy around love. So I think that the polar bear is there to say to you that if you are in a love relationship, you'll shift in that and unlearn things and go to the next level once you've gone through this change. If you aren't, it may be that this was necessary first to give you a different perspective on what you wanted in terms of love. Okay, so let's have a look at some other parts of your spirit team that are not animals. So we'll start with an archangel. We'll see what the archangel is and what messages they may have with respect to these messages from your spirit animal team. Excuse me. Zavkiel. Okay, so that's very powerful. It's also about what's lurking below the surface. So this is whatever this tower energy is, magician, justice reversed. Something is coming in, an injustice, healing of ancestral trauma, things around relationships, whatever it is. She's a hard taskmaster on that level, but she does bring in what needs to be known. And there's a karmic side to this. So for some of this is about clearing generational karma or generational trauma so that new patterns of relationship can come in. So if that relates to you, you're going to be the thought leader to do it. She is represented here as Isis, a very divine feminine energy again, but it is important to do it in the right way, not in the too smothering way, but the mothering way that helps as a thought leader, because you're meant to be shifting energies, not kind of papering over them, pile two. So let's sort of see what we get from the sort of realms of the mythical and sometimes dark, but we're not looking at the dark energy here. We're just looking at sort of like other powerful entities that are in your spirit team and what they would say to you at the moment. Chimera. That's interesting. Synergy it talks about. And Erenyus, vengeance. Okay. This puts some interesting complexions on it. So I think that this picking up the tower, the justice reversed, the magician reversed, for some of you, whether it's sort of something that's happened within your family, karmic sort of ancestral thing, whether it's in a workplace, whatever it is, there is a significant change that has to happen, and you are being called to bring that into being. And these are trying to make sure that you understand how to manage this energy, because the chimera is in fact a sort of perfect being made up of many parts. So it's many spirit animals all in one, as you can sort of see. You've got a sort of ram there, you've got a lion, and there are other sort of parts of the body. So this is talking about bringing everything together and finding it's the Gestalt effect, that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So there is a sense of you could create a new tribe, a new family, a new approach, clear all of that energy. That's the thing to go for. But there is some negative energy that you have to be able to process. And Erenyus can be about vengeance. She was a goddess of vengeance. So this is making sure that you don't, I think, get this wrong, of like taking on the battle for others and going out and being an angel of vengeance is not necessarily going to help as much as synergizing and bringing through and allowing everybody to come into their power. This is why there's a huge karmic thing here. You are in a very pivotal position around whatever this is, work, family, whatever it is, to bring a balance back. But you are dealing with something that is quite unjust or something that is very traumatic. And I think that this is to try, and Arrhenius is to show you that, yes, she can come in and help you do that, but that may not be what you want, because it's not going to help you create the new world of love, which is, I think, what Polar Bear is here once this change has occurred. But if you can bring a synergy into it, then that actually will help you. This is quite powerful, I must say. So let's see what other Greek mythology, because that kind of connects to Arrhenius as well, but what other Greek mythology could be in your spirit team. The Trojan horse. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is almost a little bit morally neutral, I have to say. I think this is saying it's going to depend on who's come to this. You are dealing with a situation, as I say, whether it's family trauma, cultural issues, workplace trauma, relationship issues, whatever it is, where something does need to fall, something has gone wrong. And you are meant to lead out and show the new way. And ideally, it is to synergize and take forward, and find the loyal companions with the dog, and then also find the new way of loving while you're still retaining yourself with the polar bear there. And it's interesting because Arrhenius, just going back to that, has a shrieking voice, but the leadership that you're meant to bring with the elephant is a softer, more modulated, and it can go at various levels. So I think there's a real thing in here about I think these are actually here more for you to understand what you're dealing with, to be honest. I mean, there is a risk for you to decide to do that, to really just try and control it all and kind of like, use this as a Trojan horse to create a new structure where you rule. But I don't think that's what it's meant to be about. It's meant to be you bringing in the servant leadership, the sort of benign, the healed trauma and all that kind of thing. So I think these might be here to remind you of what you could be dealing with. And you will have a better voice for this than those you're fighting. But they will try potentially to infiltrate what you're doing in some way or shift it back to what they want using a Trojan horse. And it may even be through, love in some way. So just be aware of that. Pile 2. It's an interesting complexity to get those two in your spirit team, but I think they're here to let you know what you need to look out for. So let's get you some astrology advice as well. Water. So emotional depth is important here. There's going to be a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing, as the bard would put it, around all of this. A lot of noise. So getting back to what's emotionally important is key. Opposition, and you will have opposing forces. But anything that heals and shifts something to a better way does. We will have a look at the planets. We've also got Taurus. Yeah, you need to be stubborn and stick to your guns. Definitely. So let's just see what the planets are in opposition. Mercury, yeah. Different ways of communicating, though I think you've got the upper hand big time with that one compared to anybody who's going to be trying to push back. Mercury and Jupiter. Yeah. This is all about making sure that the conversation and how you do this is exactly the right way and modulated in exactly the right, neither too much nor too little. Because the forces against you are going to be kind of quite loud. But this is why you've got the elephant as one of your spirit animals, because, as I say, it works at different sonic frequencies. You will know how to pitch things and how to do it. This is you using the opposition really well, expanding and being louder when you need to, being more careful and considered when you need to. So I think that opposition will work well for you, because I don't think those that you are battling with have your dexterity there. And they certainly don't have elephant as a spirit animal. So to finish off, let's just sort of see a final message from the Shapeshifter Oracle. So if you are moving between the sort of different realms and levels of the liminal space to listen to your spirit animals and other spirit team, what is a final piece of advice the whole spirit team would give you? Beauty and the Beast. Says you need some space in a relationship. So that could be in a love relationship. It might be that you do need to be separate from that while you're sorting this out. It could be a relationship that this is all about, and you're going to find out whether it's the right one for you. But I think it's also potentially relationships in general. You need to be able to have that space to work out how you are going to lead and to see where the fissures are occurring to bring this change in with the Tower. So the other thing I would say too is the Beauty and the Beast as a fairy story. It's a tricky fairy story, I think, psychologically, because in it, of course, Beauty, her love, turned the Beast into something wonderful. And that there is a real possibility for that for you around whatever this is, around, family trauma, around workplaces, even around a love relationship that needs to shift. There is definitely that possibility because what she did was that she allowed the Beast to come to conclusions and make his own decisions and so forth, and then she could legitimately fall in love with the Beast, which then freed him. So there's a very big thing here about not sort of like taking control, letting the other side come to its senses. But it's also possible that sometimes a beast is just a beast. So if they're making a lot of noise and just making a problem, then you need to make that decision. And I think that's the whiplash of the Beauty and the Beast fairy story, in that we can believe that every problem or relationship just needs a little bit of loving care and it's going to be fine. I think this is if it's about a relationship, or even if it's about relationship patterns in families or the workplace, you're going to see through this whether all can be salvaged, all can be resolved, all can be made better, or only some of it. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. I just want to say I actually had number 3 sitting with Pile 2. So if you're wondering which is Pile 3, this is Pile 3. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing to Pile 2 either. But this is definitely Pile 3, because you will, I am sure, be aware that you came to Sea Otter as your choice, as one of your animals. So, and it's interesting because the other two that came are kind of similar. There's a very strong key theme in this, which is about transformation, new growth, new life. For some of you, this may be a shift from being a non-parent to being a parent. Literally with hair, with cycles, this can be around fertility, fecundity, female cycles, all that kind of thing. It could also be that some of you are at an age where you're moving from puberty into adulthood, or from adulthood into sort of like older age. There could be that kind of thing around the cycles of life, the maiden, the mother and the crone type of energy, not necessarily female, but there's a very strong female energy with the hair in particular. But you have Sea Otter, which is about transformation, Hare, which is about cycles and growth, and Butterfly, which is about the soul here, but that's also about transformation. The butterfly is one of the most universally sort of recognized symbols of transformation. So with the Sea Otter, the transformation energy here is meant to be sort of playful, joyful, going with the flow, getting within emotionally. Sea Otters are seen as being magical sort of beasts, being able to have that sense of change and flow and so forth. And they are often mystically connected with transforming, shape-shifting, that sort of energy. So certainly Sea Otter is here if you are going through a major change in your life, the way that you want to present yourself, moving from being single to being with someone, as I say, moving from being a non-parent to a parent, whatever it might be. I feel most of this is personal, I have to say. It will be interesting to see what we see with the tarot, but I feel like a lot of this is about personal transformation as opposed to, say, career, but we will see what comes up. I feel like there's just a lot about identity, moving into identity, transforming on some level, different states of maturation, different states of connectivity with others. As I say, so with the Sea Otter, that kind of magical transformation, playful sort of energy, with hares, which are very fertile and very much sort of like family sort of oriented sort of energies and so forth. So it doesn't necessarily have to be about family for you, but there is a sort of a sense of growth and abundance and springtime and all of those sort of energies around hare. Hare is also, classically thought of as the white rabbit going down into Wonderland and so forth with Alice. So there is a sense of wonder and exploration around hare as a spirit animal as well. And then the butterfly, as I say, you know, this very much connects it to the soul, to the most highest order energies. So there's something about that soul transformation. But the butterfly, the reason I think that it's primarily seen as transformative is that when it moves from being a caterpillar to being a butterfly, when it's in the cocoon, it literally breaks down its entire form and then it is reformed as the butterfly. The caterpillar and the butterfly are so profoundly different in the way that they look and they're structured, and yet they are the same being that has gone through this massive transformation, and one that goes in our eyes to greater beauty. Though it's interesting, I always wonder whether a caterpillar would think a butterfly was beautiful. It's just something that sort of interests me, because it may be picking up being able to see beauty in things that are very different to you. That may be part of this thing, and also being happy in the beauty of a transformation, letting go of the past and bringing in the new. So there is a very powerful sense in this reading about transformation, and you have spirit animals around you to help you with that process. So what we're going to start with is we're going to get 3 cards for each for what their each's specific message to you is. We'll see whether they're primarily in agreement or not. Then we're going to see what as a collective they think that you know about this transformation that you're going through and what you maybe don't know about, before we look at some other elements for you. So firstly, what does the sea otter want to say to you about your transformation? And I think about making it joyful and magical and fun. The sun, the tower, wow. The Ace of Pentacles reversed. So it's very interesting. That card came up in that position for another reading. So there could be some of you that are coming to 2. There's a major change. I mean, the tower, that makes sense. The tower, the sea otter here is in complete agreement with the butterfly. The transformation we're talking about for you is fundamental. So this could be, as I say, it could be a major stage of maturation. It could be moving out of home. It could be graduating from college. It could be changing your gender identity. It could be anything, but it's a major change. It hasn't yet fully happened. You have the idea of it. You haven't yet done it, but it is definitely on your life path. And it's interesting how the sun here has butterflies around. So it's definitely saying this is a good thing for you. Sea Otter wants you to know that even if it feels a little bit challenging with the tower, like it feels like maybe everything, that is so strongly connected with the butterfly energy. I'm almost surprised it didn't come up with the butterfly, actually. I just think it's just showing that sea otter and butterfly are very much in agreement here, because that degree of change is what I was just describing with the butterfly. And then the sun, having the butterfly imagery. There is something very profound here. It could be a spiritual change. You could be changing a spiritual belief. It's something that is fundamental, but it's very, very positive. You just haven't yet done it. But Sea Otter is here to help you do that. So Hare wants to talk to you about the patterns that this has, like the cycles that this has, maybe even something about timing for it. So let's see what Hare wants to say. Queen of Wands, the Emperor reversed, King of Wands. Okay, for some of you, this will bring in a profound relationship that is a good relationship. And this is because I've got the king and queen of the same suit here. Now, that again, it's not about gender, it's not about preference. But when I see the 2 upright of a particular suit of king and queen, I always think that's a very strong indication of a profound relationship. Possibly one that breaks you out of cycles and patterns that were not true to who you were. So there is something about the change that you are going to make that will bring in more authentic relationships for you. In particular, love relationships, but also could be creative collaboration. It could be anything. But it's going to be much more in alignment. It breaks you out of a cycle that was not true to you. But I do think it's, as I say, I keep thinking like the caterpillar might not think the butterfly is beautiful. I think that for some of you, this change that you make, some of the people that you've been around, friends, family, may not understand it, may not get it at all, but it is the right thing, and it will bring the right energy in. So to understand that this is a cycle, it's sort of like the old, which you're changing out of, is winter, and you're coming into spring. Pile 3. So let's see what the butterfly has to say. Six of Pentacles reversed, Three of Swords reversed. Chariot. It's destined. This is all destined. You may be quite an icon of change in some way, either like on the world stage or with people that you're close to. There is a destiny. There is a real... This is not something that can be stopped. If you are in two minds about it, it's going to happen anyway, and it's going to be good for you, so you may as well embrace it. It's not going to be as painful as you think. Very interesting, because I would presume it's somewhat painful for a caterpillar to become a butterfly, but this is saying the pain is not really there. Three of Swords is reversed. You do need to do it yourself, though. This is not something to look and crowdsource with other people's opinions and so forth. This is something that is very deeply personal and that you are meant to bring through, but it's part of your destiny and will happen quite rapidly and quite powerfully. I feel like you've also got horse as a spirit animal, as a power animal taking you forward there as well. So this is significant, but you kind of do it on your own, but it will bring in better connections for you. So let's see what your spirit team think you know about this already. Empress reversed. Five of Wands reversed. Queen of Swords. Eight of Swords. They know that, yeah, you've suppressed your own sort of divine masculine and feminine. You've suppressed it. You've been kind of living by other people's rules for too long in whatever this is. You know it. They know that you know it. Definitely. And they know that you know that this will take you out of like constant kind of like petty disputes that were around it, that you've made your mind up. They're really impressed that you've made your mind up because you don't want to be tied up anymore in what is not true to you. So they're really applauding you with this. They know that although it's a little bit scary, that you're going to do it because you really realize you have to do it. So let's see what they think you don't know at the moment that could be helpful for you. Magician reversed. Justice reversed. Lovers reversed. Wow. Three of Pentacles reversed. So they're telling you, and this is a little bit of tough love, just so that you know, that some people are not going to be able to deal with the change that you make. You're going to find, it doesn't have to be necessarily lovers, but it could be. Some people are just not going to be able to get it. They're going to criticize you. Some people are going to try and sort of like tie you up in knots rather than letting you make the change that you want. There is going to be the pain that you're going to have is not going to be in the actual transformation, because that will take you where you need to go, and it will bring good people in. I think that's why they wanted to make it really clear. But there will be those that push back, those that don't understand it. Some of it will be unfair, I have to say. I would be careful. I think they want you to be careful about who you tell and who you share this with. And certainly do not crowdsource an opinion on this. This needs to be true to you, because it just feels to me like people might try and manipulate you, or they might misrepresent what you're doing or deliberately misunderstand it. So you will bring in the right people, but you are coming out of something that was oppressive to move into something that's true to you. And you may a little bit underestimate how much that's going to happen. You may think that you can just be really excited and tell people, but some people are not going to be able to take it. So think about those that kind of almost triggered you to want to do this, and they're the ones not to talk to about it if you can avoid it. Pile 3. Okay, so let's see what other spirit team energies you have. So let's get you an archangel for this significant and ultimately very positive transformation. Raziel. Oh, wonderful. Okay, wisdom. So Raziel is the archangel of Chokmah in the Kabbalah, is all about wisdom, is all about learning, is all about really understanding what's going on. So I think Raziel is here to make sure that you're wise about who you speak to and who you don't. And Raziel can be a bit stern sometimes, but it's only ever done with love. It's only ever done to make sure that you don't steer yourself incorrectly. It would also say that this transformation you're doing is a fundamentally wise one. It's written in the book, so to speak, of your life path. So don't doubt it. Extremely powerful archangel to be with you. Very beautiful energy for you, and great wisdom, as I say, which I think you're going to need, because I think you're around very close-minded people. So Raziel is here to show you the wisdom of the transformation that you're doing. Let's have a look at some of the sort of darker, powerful energies from different mythologies that could also help you on your spirit team to go forward with this in a wise and proud and strategic way. So we have mermaid, beauty. Oh, that's interesting. And myrmidon. I might not be pronouncing that correctly, myrmidon. So I think there's a couple of things that these are bringing. Looking at the myrmidon, they are great warriors, as you can see, very disciplined, very, very able to sort of go through adversity and fight through adversity. So I do think it is, again, saying that some people are not going to understand or like the change. But this is to give you the discipline and the strength and the sort of fight to go through it, because you are fighting for the right. You know, there is right behind you, and these are to give you strength with that. Mermaid, I think, is a double-edged sword here, and it's and one of it is going to be good. It is about the beauty that you are bringing out in yourself, but it is a beauty that is different, that is a transformation, that is not what others are used to or want you to be. I think for some of you, this is going to be an exceptionally beautiful transformation, like from the caterpillar to the butterfly. And some people may resent that or not be able to deal with it. So I think you have to be aware there could be jealousy, and some of the pushback could be coming from that. The other side of it with the mermaid is that some may try to beguile you. And when you're looking at having the magician reverse and justice reverse, some may try to beguile you to go back to how you were or something like that, or to tell you that you would only be lovable if you went back to something more conventional, whatever it might be. And then it's a bit more like a siren call. So I think mermaid is here to say, hold on to your unique beauty and your vision. You're on the right path. Use the myrmidon here for the discipline to do that, and the wisdom of Raziel, because there may be those who try to beguile you back to the past if they're not comfortable with the change. Okay, let's get you a creature from Greek mythology as well for your spirit team. Alcmene, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Unfairness, yeah. There is something very unfair. Look, you may even have been sort of forced in this situation of having to make this change because of something that's unfair, or it may feel, if you are, as I say, wanting to move into parenthood, it may take a little bit of time. You will get there. Have the discipline. Don't let people be naysayers around it. But there's something that will feel unfair as you go through this. But you are on the right track, and you will bring in the right people in the end. I think this is just to make you understand it so that you're not put off. You're not beguiled back to just doing what you did before. This is really part of your life path. So you're meant to be the beautiful butterfly, and if other people don't like it, that's their problem, pile 3. Okay, so let's get you some astrology to help you as well. Trine. It will be easier than you think. For all that there are warnings here. The warnings are only so that you don't get beguiled. You don't get pulled onto the rocks by the siren call. That you do understand you're on the right path. I'll look at the planets in a minute, but Libra, yeah, fairness. Things will come back into balance. It's just there's a period of time where there's pushback or there's people who don't understand. And Uranus. Keep moving forward. You're meant to change. You're meant to transform. It's your destiny. You're meant to do this. Let's have a look at the planets in trine to see how that can help you. Neptune. Oh, that's interesting with the water. Your beauty, your psychic connection, all of that sort of stuff. Trust that. Don't listen to other people. And Mercury, yeah, trust that and communicate your truth. The real communication's coming from a Raziel or from, you're sort of like your power animals. So you don't have to listen to other people who just don't get it. They're not sort of at your level. Pile 3. So to finish off, what I want to do is get you a card from the Shapeshifter oracles, taking into account that you more than any of the readings are shapeshifting at this point. You're going through a radical transformation in whatever area of your life this relates to. But it's meant to sort of show another part of the energy around your spirit team and their advice for how to be able to move between the worlds and fully access their guidance and information. So for you, we have pose brave flight. You will not let fear stop you this time. And it's interesting, we have a raven, so a raven may well be one of your spirit animals as well too, and that is a messenger, and it is a psychopomp. It means that you can go through the transition, like go into the underworld, go through the transition and come through. But this is just saying, go forward. You are meant to fly. You are meant to be beautiful. You are meant to change. You can ride the cycles and understand them. If you understand, I think that's why Hare's here to say that there will be a pushback at first, and it's not going to be very fair. It's not going to be reasonable. It'll veer between being critical and trying to be beguiling. But if you just ride that through and stay true to what you're doing and understand that's just part of the process of change, you will find it is not as painful as you thought it was going to be. It will be easier for you to be able to communicate what you want. You will grab your destiny and you will bring the right people in. So ultimately, it's a very, very positive message. I hope that you enjoyed the reading, Pile 3. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.